Guys, oh my god, we're crossing something off my bucket list today. Obviously, you saw that we're going to the Winchester Mystery House. You'll just be this looming sort of man figure there. Yes, we're going to the Winchester Mystery House, and the plan is, you're still... Okay. Right now, we are staying in the Bay Area at his grandmother's house, and because we're visiting... Oh, that was in my mouth. Yeah. We're gonna cross something off my bucket list, the Winchester Mystery House. We also need to finish watching the movie. We started it last night, but there is a movie starring Helen Mirren, Dame Helen Mirren, Jason Clarke, Sarah Snook, and it's called Winchester from 2018. 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. So we need to finish that, and then maybe we can share some fun facts we learned from the movie, and then we'll sort of compare it to what we learned on the tour. If you enjoy spooky vlogs and stuff, I do this every once in a while. This is kind of my hobby channel, but maybe you know me as Haunted Hippie, aka the Antichrist on my main channel. That's where I oh. There are some antiques in this room we're staying in. You really just threw me off my train of thought.
You enjoy spooky vlogs.
Right. But I'm also the Antichrist and...
Oh.
Yeah. So my main channel is Haunted Hippie. That's where I talk about horror movies. So I will be talking a little bit about horror movies today. I think we should definitely like do some comparisons of the footage shot in the movie versus the actual house itself. Because I believe... I will need to look into this in a minute, but I believe they got permission to shoot parts of the movie at the actual house. Let's get rolling. We're gonna go grab some breakfast and some coffee and then finish the movie and head over there. And I'm very excited to say hello to Sarah Winchester. Okay. Oh. Hello. Why is it still coming towards us? Oh. So we are here, we're here, and we finished the movie. It was a little bit better than I remembered. And you kind of enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
It's like not, but my excitement about seeing the actual house today kind of let me view the movie with rose-colored glasses. And we learned in the movie, the lore of the movie is that like the ghosts of the victims of the Winchester rifles came to her and would tell her how to like build the rooms. And then usually the rooms were like a recreation of wherever like the victims died, right?
Exactly, yep.
Okay, I don't know what the real story is, but we're gonna find out. Right, well.
Keep entertained, you gotta keep going.
Well, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say right now. I think people just want to see the house probably. And so do I.
And so do I.
So let's do that. There is more actually. The movie was actually a pretty big financial success. It exceeded expectation in terms of the box office. It had a budget of $3.5 million. Yeah, you want to? So it had a budget of $3.5 million, and then it went on to make like 46 million or something. I'll have it on screen.
It's pretty good ROI.
So it did really well. Critically, it did horribly, obviously. Nobody blames Helen Mirren, but nobody liked it. And also, I think that majority of it was shot in Australia, but they did shoot part of it in San Jose, California. So I'm assuming here on the actual grounds.
What part?
I don't know. I would imagine like maybe some of the shots of the front of the house, you know, like when they're on the front stoop and maybe on the stairs that lead to nowhere or something. We'll see when we go inside the house, and maybe we'll be able to spot where they did some filming. And then I'll confirm it afterwards. I'll maybe do a little side-by-sides or something in this video. Okay, now let's go for real.
Okay.
gardens now before the tour starts, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I tried to look my best for Sarah. I feel I did okay. I don't know. Also, I need to remember to say hi to Sarah for my friend Leanne as well. She wants me to say hi to Sarah for her. I intend on doing that. Kind of ruins the illusion, doesn't it? But this is the back of the house. I think according to the movie, her husband and her daughter, her child, had both passed away. And I don't know if that was before she moved out here, and she had $20 million, so she built this house. This is for you, Sarah. Hey. Hey, girl, hey. My friend Leanne says hi. She would love to be here herself saying hi, but Leanne says hey. I'll miss all the ghosties. Well, hello! Welcome to my little lair. I need to take off my glasses. Okay, they're so dirty. Oh my god, okay. I hope that you enjoyed the little vlog section of this video. Now, I do need to actually chat with you for quite a while because something that I didn't know, but it is like on the website and stuff when you get the tickets, you cannot take videos throughout your tour. Once they set us loose and we did like the basement section and stuff, then we could take video. But there is so much that you have yet to see from the Winchester Mystery House just from this vlog. I have like 40 pictures that I need to show you too and kind of like walk you through the experience. And also do some of the movie comparisons and sort of like compare notes with what I learned. We've already gone through some of the movie lore. What we did confirm was that Sarah Winchester did hear the voices of the ghosts and they instructed her on how to build the rooms. But something that I don't think we see in the movie is that she also based some of her construction on confusing the more malevolent spirits. And that is likely why we get the insane layout of the house as it currently stands. One of my misconceptions also was that it was going to have sort of a main base of the house that felt a little bit normal. I thought maybe like her living quarters plus the kitchen or dining room or whatever would feel kind of normal. There is not a single space in the house that makes sense at all. I think that was kind of the most interesting and alarming thing that I learned. Also, one thing that I shared that I thought at the top was that she came out to California with $20 million and then she built the house from the ground up. This is not true. It actually already was kind of a giant farmhouse that had 8 bedrooms, but according to the tour guide, they don't even know like what parts of the house are original anymore. It seems like Sarah Winchester actually probably did end up demolishing anything that was original about the house or you know, the original layout. The original porch steps are still in there, but now they're indoors. Another thing that I assumed ended up being incorrect, and that was the characterization of Sarah Winchester in the movie. She's depicted as somebody who puts her family above all else. And I was like, well, I don't know. It seems like whatever's going on here probably has to do with like mental illness. You know, how concerned really was she with her family versus living as a bit of a hermit in this mansion of hers. But it does seem like in real life, her family could have been the most important thing to her. She suffered a lot of tragedy in her life. Her daughter passed away just 6 weeks after she was born. And then 15 years after that, she lost her husband when I think she was in her early 40s. They took us through what was sort of a grand ballroom or like a music room. And they said that in a closet in that room, they found a safe. And the stockholders of the Winchester house were super excited about that because they were like, what unknown treasures must be in here? But all that was in there was a lock of her baby Annie's hair, and then also the 2 obituaries of her daughter and her husband. So the tour guide said that that made it clear that what she valued above all else was her family and not her immense wealth. Also, on the note of that room, those windows do appear in the Winchester movie, and they say the exact same thing, so I'm not sure if that was actually shot in the house. And I know you've probably been wondering, the actual house was used for its exteriors, for the aerial shots, and a few interior rooms, but the reason why production did not take place mainly in the actual house itself was because it was so cramped. And after being in the house itself, I thought it would feel a little bit more like a grand mansion. It feels very small. When you show up there and you realize how small the plot of land is that it's on, it's really jarring because especially in the movie and in photos and stuff, it seems so big. But Sarah Winchester was 4'10". She was a tiny little lady, and so much of the house was custom made for her. So let's get into some of the photos, and I'll kind of walk you through the tour as I saw it, and we'll get into even more comparisons to the movie. First up on the tour, we got to see the stairs that lead to nowhere. I didn't get a great picture here. I do apologize about that, but still cool. Still looks weird. The story with that, I feel like they shouldn't have told us because it ended up cheapening it a little bit. I preferred it to be a mystery, but they were adding on to the second story, so they just ended up covering the stairs. And that was the whole reason. They just were remodeling. These stairs you might recognize if you've seen the movie. In the movie, there are several sequences that take place on these little stairs, and I forget what they are called. What are they called? Oh, switchback stairs. So they believe that Sarah Winchester had these built to accommodate her arthritis. They definitely look much more cinematic in the film, but here are the real life inspirations. Oh, one of my favorite parts about the house was how spooky a lot of the decorative windows were. I didn't expect that at all. I didn't expect there to be any kind of spooky atmosphere to the decor or the design. I just expected it to be weird and the layout to be confusing. But these gorgeous, gorgeous spiderweb windows, oh my god, there were so many of them. And these were the ones that were in Sarah Winchester's bathroom. And in this room, not just on the wall leading to the outdoors, but between rooms and stuff, the total windows added up to 13 in this room. 13 was Sarah Winchester's favorite number. They think that it had something to do with like her spirituality, but the number 13 pops up a lot in this house. Next up is Sarah Winchester's bedroom, and I just have to apologize for the quality of most of these photos. I felt a little bit rushed by our tour guide, and we actually went over time. Like, the tour itself is supposed to be an hour. Apparently he was giving us extra information because we were such a small group, but he would be like, we're about to walk through this hallway and that hallway, and on your right will be this room and on the left will be this room. And he went so fast, and I just didn't get a lot of time to, like, you know, properly soak everything in, so that kind of bummed me out. But this is Sarah's bedroom. This is actually where she passed away. Don't get too excited though, because this is like the original wallpaper and everything on the ceiling too, but none of the original furniture remains in the house because she left the house to her niece, I believe, who ended up just taking the furniture and doing whatever she pleased with it. But everything in the house is period accurate. There's her bed. That's where she passed away. That's a photo of her husband up there. And I also said hello to Sarah for my friend Leanne in this room because this was where she passed away. These are photos of her sister and her niece. And her niece shows up in the movie, and her niece's son, played by Sarah Snook. Love the inclusion of them. That's also her little dog named Zip, which there's no dog in the movie, unfortunately. This was in her seance room. I know it's really hard to tell, but like I said, I was kind of rushed taking these photos. You're looking at a door that opens to, I believe, one of the kitchens. You might be able to kind of tell there's like a pie down there. So if you open that door, you can just walk and just fall into one of the kitchens. And then of course there's other odd windows and stuff there too. As we keep going, this is a common trend. In so many of the rooms, there are just doors all over the place, doors and windows everywhere. But it is beautiful. This was a particularly very light room. Oh, this also connects to the movie. Do you remember how in the movie there are these little communication holes? That's putting it kind of crudely, I know. And then there's that terrible scare where he puts his ear up to it and like a finger starts to come out. God, the scares in the Winchester house really cheapened it, didn't they? But we saw one such voice tube. Isn't that fun? I don't recall seeing any that were quite like the movie. They did have panels that looked similar to the one in the movie, but they were for buttons, and those were used to summon her workers because often they had to help her around the house. In this sink, I think it's going to be kind of hard to see, so I'll zoom in, but she specifically custom ordered sinks that had 13 holes in them, or if not 13 holes in the side of the porcelain, then the drains themselves would be decorative to have 13 holes. You don't see that every day. This was her niece's room. Nothing really of extreme note here. Here is one of the famous windows in the floor. I wanted to show you this one because, I mean, obviously it's iconic, but also because you see it multiple times throughout the tour from different odd angles, so we'll come back to it. This area is beautiful. I feel like I recall seeing it in the movie, same with that window on the floor, but I can't remember for certain. This was her little sunroom, so, you know, she spent time in here to get sunlight and whatnot. This is apparently the most expensive window in the house. At the time that she had it commissioned, I think he said that it cost around $1,400, which in today's money he said is between $30,000 to $45,000. Only for no sunlight to ever come in through the window because she built onto the house behind the window. So then she put in another window to the left, but then she ended up building behind that window too. So that is why there is also the window in the ceiling, because this was technically like the main staircase. This picture I just wanted to include because it almost doesn't matter at all what angle you're standing at. The house just looks strange. The angles are all off and crazy, and there's weird depth in places that it feels like there shouldn't be, in doors and windows. So that was just one such example. This hallway, I had no idea, inspired the Haunted Mansion. The Disney Imagineers came to the Winchester Mystery House when they were developing the Haunted Mansion ride. I think that's so awesome, and I can totally see it. Oh, this is the inside of the door to nowhere. That is outside. It has the sign on it. You saw it earlier in the vlog. This is a photo of the house after the famous 1906 earthquake. Turns out that earthquake trapped Sarah in her original bedroom in the mansion for several hours before the workers could find her and get her out. She then moved rooms after that. This was the teeny tiny bathroom that was in her original bedroom, and it was really hard to get good pictures of it, so there are a couple different angles there. They don't fully do it justice, but it's just this odd little tiny, teeny tiny room with a teeny tiny skinny door. Here is the highest point of the house, so we went out to see the views, and once again, I'm just constantly baffled by how many random windows are just lining a space. Also, the random openings in the floor with the railings, I don't know. So when we came out here, we could see the famous window in the floor from above. So there it popped up again, and we will see it one more time in the tour. There is the bell tower that you famously also see in the movie. We didn't learn any special lore about the bell. I really wanted to ask. I had so many questions, but like I said, he was going so fast. Like, he was going a million miles a minute, just sharing all this stuff. So there wasn't really space for questions, and we just kept kind of being rushed along. It was still a nice tour. Don't get me wrong. I don't hold it against him or anything. But in the movie, I believe that they said something to the effect of like the bell summons the spirits at midnight or something.
Can you tell me why these bells chime at midnight?
It's midnight, sir.
Well, yes, but is there any significance to it?
It's midnight, sir.
Thank you.
There was nothing of that nature on the tour, unfortunately. This is the last spot that we saw the famous window on the floor. This is, I believe, right when we were about to go into the basement. Well, one of the basements. Ooh, this photo, fun story. So the guy on the far right side is a man who people typically see with his wheelbarrow. He is one of the only, I guess, sort of active apparitions in the house, according to the tour. So of course, they tell you if you're continuing on to the basement, be out on the lookout. That's where he's most active. He just was one of the original farmhands in the house, and I believe that they don't know any of these workers' names. This is one of their newer, fully restored rooms. It's called a twin dining room, and like I said, I thought that there was going to be an area of the house that at least felt a little bit normal. Like, hey, maybe the dining room. But no, they call it a twin dining room because inexplicably, there are two nearly identical dining rooms just right next to each other. Really beautiful how they brought it back to life, though. I loved this. They had some of the original costumes from the Winchester movie, and of course, the poster, because this is, I guess, the only Winchester movie out there. I think that's such a shame because it's not good. Though one of the workers at the house who was in the basement, we talked to her about the movie, and she was like, you know, I enjoy it for what it is too. Because really, after going on this tour, it became so abundantly clear to me that the people that made the movie really were big fans. There are so many details of the house that made it into the film, and you really got to watch the movie and visit the house to just like put everything together. I'm not going to share everything, but it really was so detailed, and the movie gets a lot of shit, but there really was was a fair amount of care in the attention to detail. Wrapping things up because there is now a leaf blower going outside. Here is the old mysterious wheelbarrow down in the basement. Ooh, in the coal chute. Unfortunately, I did not see any apparitions down there, and you already saw most of the video footage from the basement, so that's really gonna do it. I hope that this was satisfactory if you're not someone that can visit the house yourself. I'm sure that there are better vlogs out there. I'm sure that there are people who have cheated and maybe hid little GoPros in their jackets and actually got footage of all of the inside of the house. I just don't like to be one of those tourists, you know, one of those influencers. So apologies if any of this was disappointing, but I had a blast. I loved everything that I learned. I hope that you enjoyed learning about it too. If you want more spooky vlogs like this, then definitely subscribe. I do mainly post like physical media content on this channel, so if you're confused why there's a physical media related video up next, that's why. But I do a fair amount of traveling, I do a fair amount of vlogging, so there's plenty of that. You can find it in playlists on this channel. And then of course, once again, I must shout out my main channel, Haunted Hippie. That's where I talk about horror movies all week long. So if you're here for the horror of it all, then that's probably where you want to be. I also have a Patreon where you get bonus reviews of new horror movies and such like that. Depending on which tier you join, you get a bonus video every single week, so it's worth checking out. You can also find all my social media and everything linked down below, but more than anything, I just hope that you enjoyed this video and that I catch you in the next one. Bye.